What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to Aaron for his contribution to the channel. Much respect to Aaron for showing love to the channel. And I want to thank everybody that has contributed to this channel, shown love to this channel. I want to thank everybody that signed up to the Patreon. Um, I'm going to do another Patreon video later today. I'm trying to be even more active on the Patreon. There's already 330 something videos up on the Patreon, I believe, right now. And if you haven't subscribed and you want to subscribe to the Patreon, you can do so in the link uh, in the description box. And if you want to donate to the channel, you can do so in the links provided below in the description box. All right, so let me say this first before I go into my thoughts about what Draymond Green said. First of all, I don't agree with James Harden and how he went about it. Okay, the reason why I have an issue with James Harden is because he was disingenuous and dishonest about a lot of things. Um, in the recent interview he did with Rachel Nichols, he made it seem like it was more the organization that was the problem rather than him. And it appears to be more that the organization kind of stopped catering to him. And, that was more the problem as far as including him in personnel decisions, coaching decisions. They kind of started treating him more like an employee, and that's what the issue is with that. You know what I'm saying? They started treating him like how we get treated at our jobs. No matter how good we are at our jobs, we get treated as mere employees, and I think that's one of the reasons why he demanded a trade. You know, amongst other things. Him claiming he never had help when he's had Hall of Fame help. He's had an all-time great team in 2018, won 65 games. So him saying, the organization has not lived up to the expectations as far as putting a team around him, I thought that was bullshit. Plus, to come into camp 30 pounds overweight is disrespectful, and it showed he didn't even try. Okay, so that's my issue with James Harden. That's why I will not apologize for anything I've said about him. However, what Draymond Green said last night was very true. There is a double standard when it comes to the mainstream media and with fans, by the way, as far as how they react toward players who want to be traded in most circumstances, and when organizations trade loyal players. One of the most egregious examples of this, all right, is Isaiah Thomas. Not Zeke, not Zeke, the smaller Isaiah, the less talented one, all right, that played with Boston. He did everything right. He did everything that you're supposed to do, supposedly, right? I mean, he had every excuse in the book not to play in that game when his sister passed away. He played, actually had a great game, and got a much needed and very important victory that night. I remember him dropping a 50 piece in the playoffs with them. Unfortunately, when he was just about to get that max contract, that $200 million contract, just as the market was exploding back then, he suffers an injury. Okay, and what does Danny Ainge do? Trade him. Trade him. Where was the loyalty then? What was the loyalty, with Harrison Barnes when, what was it, Dallas traded him while he was sitting on the bench? He had to leave, come off the bench, and leave because he was no longer a member of the team. You know what I'm saying? Just like Draymond said when DeMarcus Cousins found out right after the All-Star game that he had been traded from the Sacramento Kings. You know, um, it's not the same. Look at the Chicago Bulls and how they treated Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose was going to be the savior for the Chicago Bulls, the unexpected savior. For a few years, he turned around the organization pretty much by himself until Thibodeau ran his ass into the ground. Let's be honest, he did. It was a fluke injury, but that's what Thibodeau did. Him, um, Jimmy Butler, he ran those guys to the ground. Now Jimmy Butler, you know, was able to physically withstand it, but the Chicago Bulls organization didn't treat Derrick Rose like a savior. And at the end, with diminished skills, they traded him. So at the end of the day, what Draymond Green says is very true. Um, but I'm also going to say this too. This is something that we all experience working in the work industry. You know what I'm saying? Working in jobs. No matter how good we are at jobs, no matter how committed we can be in a job, you think to yourself, man, with this job, man, I'm going to show that I'm the best employee. I'm going to do whatever I can, and down the line, I'm going to be rewarded for my efforts, right? And this is what the reality is for most people when you work. There's favoritism at jobs. It has very little to do with your work output. Oftentimes, it has to do more with who does the most ass kissing. Um, and oftentimes, there are a lot of, let's be honest, because we've all been there with some of these jobs. A lot of times, promotion and salaries are based upon a quid pro quo system. This for that. What I mean by that is oftentimes you have employees who um, might perform sexual acts for promotion, or other things. Okay, I'm just being honest. It's not really the merit system anymore when it comes to a lot of these jobs, right? Another thing that's fucked up. Whenever you quit a job, no matter how bad your situation is, you're expected to give a 2 weeks notice. Some jobs expect you to give a month's notice. Meanwhile, in that last 2 weeks or a month you're there, because your employers are fucking spiteful as shit, they could just do a lot of things psychologically to try to get you to quit before your term is before your time is up. And a lot of times they'll fuck you over. If you're a salaried guy, they'll fuck your last check up. Just drag you to hell for a long, protracted period of time for no reason whatsoever. But meanwhile, the employer can fire you at any time without any real excuse. At least with many states, they don't have to give you any excuse whatsoever to fire you. You could be performing admirably. No points build up, none of that shit. Great reviews. They could just fire you and get away with it. And oftentimes they use loopholes not to give you unemployment, even though you fucking earned it. And then once again, you got to go through this long, protracted period of time where you can't get compensation for unemployment while you're looking for another job because they want to be assholes. So on that level, I tell Draymond Green, I feel you, I really do. Um, but we're all going through this. At least you guys get paid a handsome sum. But this is the thing I will say in defense of Draymond Green as well. People always reference these guys' contracts, $100 million, $200 million. Shaq said something very important. He said the only reason why we get paid so much money is because somewhere there's someone getting paid 10 times as much. And he's talking about these owners. Okay? 40 years ago, 40 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, I might be a little bit off of my figure. The then San Diego Clippers franchise total value 40 years ago, total value of the franchise, right? I think was something around $60 million. An NBA franchise. Remember back then, salaries weren't even $1 million yet. But the total value of the franchise was $60 million. Today, you have franchises that are almost worth $1 billion. These owners are some of the richest people in the world. The current owner of the Clippers, I think his name is Steve Ballmer. Google Bloomberg Billionaires Index and see how much he's worth. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he's worth $70 billion. And he's just one owner. These owners are some of the richest people in the world. And people talk about how much these players make. Man, it's mere pittance compared to how much these owners and billionaires are worth. The other day, Elon Musk became the first human being in world history to acquire a net worth of over $200 billion. He's now the richest man in the world. Last I checked, he was worth $215 billion. $215 billion. The former richest man in the world, now the second richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, is worth $195 billion. The third richest man and long-time richest man in the world, Bill Gates, is worth 100 and I think 70 or 180 billion dollars, and he is the largest landowner in North America. So when people talk about these players and how much money they make, they need to look into that and see, yeah, but they're still underpaid. They're still underpaid. A $200 million contract over a 5-year period compared to what these owners are making and how much their wealth has increased. CEOs used to make $100,000 a year in the 70s. $100,000 a year. CEOs now will retire with a golden parachute of $70 million, not including everything else that's in their severance package. And these guys are making 50, 60, $70 million a year. There's something wrong here. But we all know the main reason why they focus on the players is because they're black. Let's be honest. They focus on them a lot of times, most of the times because they're black. And a lot of people resent seeing someone that look like us make more money than them, that much more money than them. But that's what it is, and that's how I feel about it. Tell me what you guys think.